Let's try that again, unmuted. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Look at all you beautiful people waiting patiently in chat. Dirt McGirt was first this evening. Look at that. Fun being first, he says. Vanessa Kitty, Jeff Cron, GD Bacon. What's up, brother? John Rice, Farmer James, Joe Morris. Oh, look at all you beautiful people. It's a Luigi. It's a Luigi. Scott, what's up, man? Come out in PLA. What up? Possibly the coolest username I've ever seen in my life. I want to make sure I didn't miss any of you guys. Dean, what up? All you channel members, love y'all. Luigi, I keep seeing your Dark is 3D printing his McFlurry machine. Even when I get that thing printed, I don't think I'll be able to get the pretend ice cream to run it. And I can't believe that I got Danny Meatball in here too. What? Jake the Great, what's up, brother? Danny Meatball himself. I got one of your mags over here, brother. Kurt, what up, Kurt? Man Against the Masses. All right, so we're about to go live. We have a very special guest. I'm sure you've already seen it in the title and all that stuff. I didn't do a thumbnail or anything. Did a quick live on Instagram, and yeah, we're about to get it in. Douglas, what's up, man? Danny gave me the love eyeballs. Yeah, man, I got a blue glowy 33 rounder over here. I think it's a 33 round. It's something. But buckle up, hold on tight. We're about to get started. And instead of the 30-second countdown, we're going with the cheesy after school special video intro. You're welcome. Thank you to Tactical Pineapple for making that super cheesy after school special intro. Appreciate that. Yeah, and everyone please show Danny Meatball some love. John Crump, what's up, brother? So today, as I said, we have a very special guest. I've been queuing up this delightful individual for a little while, and I'd like to start by introducing the one and only Booligan Shooting Sports.
How's it going, everybody? Everybody, as in the two of us, and the many of you, the many
Yes.
of you. We see some people I really like here in the chat.
Oh yeah, there's some great folks out here, man. I gotta say, I'm pretty new into the 3D printing world. So far, I've successfully printed a cat, a dog, a baby Yoda, 2 Mav9 frames, only one usable, and the bench block.
Honestly, like that's not a bad start.
How did you get? Well, let's start by doing this. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Woo!
We are having immediate technical difficulties as my tripod just fell over.
Was that
fun.
a save? That was
a save. Well, which is good because this is on a very expensive laptop here. Give me 1 second.
You take your time, man. You're good, brother. Pewtang, what's up, brother? Thunderous applause. Excellent. Baywatch intro song. Yes, sir. Well, you line. Unconstant to sucky, but okay, I don't know what that means, but I love you anyway. You don't even like Baby Yoda. The Shooting Gallery, New England. Don't feel obligated to stick around. Okay, you can leave whenever you'd like.
And we are back.
Okay, good. So how? Sorry. So I got to say how impressed I was that you saved that. I mean, you like.
Well, it's a very nice laptop that was not paid for by me, so I really do have to say that. But it is balanced. I'm in my gun room that I do video shooting in sometimes, and I do a lot of my workshop stuff in here. But usually when I'm doing that, it's just on a tripod with a camera and all that stuff. I literally have this laptop like sitting precariously on top of this tripod that only has one leg that doesn't quite lock as well as it should. And I guess I looked at it funny, and the thing just took a dive. But but we saved it. And I don't have to expense off another decent laptop.
It was a beautiful save. And I got to say, you dove for that thing like it was baby Carlos himself taking a tumble.
That's right. That's
Let's
right.
take a look at what you got on your back wall here. Okay,
We have a great many things that I know better than to touch, but I can point at and
good
we can talk
call.
about.
I see a couple things. Let's start on the left over here. I see you got a Grand that looks like an actual 30-06 Grand.
It is. That's a CMP. It's a Springfield post-war, which kind of sucks that it's post-war,
Yeah,
but it's nice. It's in clean shape. I didn't do anything to it. All I needed to do was just clean up the grunge off of the wood with a little bit of Murphy's oil soap. That stuff, like if you get into milsurp at all and you want to salvage like good factory wood, but you want to get rid of just that gunk that just builds up, that
yeah.
isn't the nice kind of gunk, but just the bad gunk. Yeah, Murphy's oil soap, man.
Murphy's oil
That's the
soap.
stuff.
Yeah, I think I actually saw that in there's a video that I mean it shows up in my news feed like daily. It is Iraq veteran breaking down that Martini Henry or whatever rifle, and I'm pretty sure he used that. And then is that I made it small again. Is that like an O3A3? What's below
Right
or
beneath that,
yeah.
oh, that is an infield #4 Mark 1 Star, and it's
Ooh,
actually a Savage built Lend Lease. So it's a U.S. built. We built them here. Savage built it and then shipped it over to the UK so that they could pop some Nazis and fascists.
dang, that's some
And
gangster shit right there.
I bought it sporterized, and I did a little bit of a video series on unsporterizing it, which meant spending more on a wood kit than I actually spent on the gun in
On
the
the
first
gun.
place.
Yeah, of course. Funny how that works. So let me see.
I was gonna say we've got some fun stuff. The this side is kind of the weird one, but you've
Bro.
got the Ishapore 2A1 tanker. So it's a shortened, basically Lee Enfield in a 7.62 by 51.
Oh, okay.
And they basically got these things. They imported them in, and they had shitty like muzzle crowns on them. And
Hmm.
they're like, okay, so what are we gonna do with these? We gonna counterbore them, or what are we gonna do? And they said, no. Here's what we do: we chop like 5 inches off the barrel, shorten the wood, shorten the front sight. We sell them as tanker models.
Yes.
And they're like, cool. There was never a tanker model of the issue. Like no tanker, like Colonel Singh in India did not roll around with one of those in his surplus Tiger, but like
Right.
it's a fun story. And it was a sort of like that kind of FUD lore that came around gun shows and things
Yeah.
like that, where they're like, oh, this is a super rare tanker model, and it's like, no, it was kind of a garbage gun that they made less garbage.
So
Um,
rare you won't even be
so
able to find it.
so rare, but they're actually really handy rifles. It's got like I think it's like a 17-inch barrel on it.
Nice. Is that a
And
suppressed
they're
Camp 9?
Delisle, oh, even better than that. So we all know about the Delisle. The Delisles were made off of those. They were made off of Lee Enfields.
Okay.
They chambered them in 45, and then they built an integrally suppressed barrel for them. These things were super quiet. Like they were like a mouse queef quiet. These were just like there was just no sound whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's like 20 of these things in existence still. They do not exist. They're
Dang.
hyper rare. But that guy, it is the same concept but built off of a Mauser action. In this case, it's a Czech, so a VZ24, if I'm remembering my VZs. So it's a Czech Mauser action with a Rhineland Arms caliber conversion barrel. And the build process of this is I shortened the barrel down to about 8.5 inches, and then I designed and machined a monocore baffle that's another like 8.5, 9 inches long, and it threads on there and is pinned and welded in place. So the baffle stack, the monocore baffle, is permanently attached to the barrel, so it permanently has an over 16-inch barrel length. So it doesn't have an SBR stamp, even though technically it has a 8-inch barrel, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
overall length of the barrel in permanent is over 16.5.
Kind of how SIG thought they could do with the NPX originally. If
Well, they didn't get tagged with an illegal SBR on that. What they got tagged with is you are shipping a suppressor.
yeah,
It just doesn't have the magical tube on there. And
yeah,
this one has the magical tube. It's built on a Form 1.
nice.
And it's not quite mouse queef quiet. I think I need to actually port the barrel, and because up here I'm in Utah, so our altitude is pretty high, and because of that, the speed of sound is lower.
Okay,
And
I've heard
normal,
that before.
yeah, normal 230 grain 45 ammo is normally subsonic out of like a pistol, out of an 8 or 9-inch barrel with a little bit of extra speed going through, because you usually don't lose speed when you shoot through a suppressor.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's just barely cracking the speed of sound, and I'm getting a little bit more of a crack than I like. So I might port the barrel to bleed off a little bit more gas. It's a whole over barrel section. It's not just wasted space before you hit that baffle stack. The blast baffle actually has 2 flats machined into it. So the gas goes, hits that blast baffle, and then circles back over that reflex portion. You weren't expecting this to be as technical as it was, but here we are.
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
And the reflex portion is filled with stainless steel mesh, so it adds just more things to interfere with that gas flow and to just slow it down and just make it work. It was a super fun build. It was just a concept that I wanted to build, and I came across the base rifle already sporterized, so I wasn't chopping up a historical piece. And I got it for dirt cheap. I did it with raw materials. There's no solvent trap on that thing. That thing started with like a solid chunk, several solid chunks of billet aluminum.
That's awesome.
I machined down.
Well, and that's so rare too. Like I know, like we were talking about the lovable Mr. Snow earlier, and you know he's got the capabilities and the also the I guess the fortitude and the sack to do things like that too. So I admire that kind of shit. I think that's awesome. Now you said that there's steel mesh. Is that kind of similar to the concept of like wipes in a suppressor?
Kind of, sort of. A lot of actually early, really rudimentary suppressor designs didn't have what we would consider baffles in them. They didn't have, like concentric rings going down the bore or whatever like that. They would just have almost like a donut. Picture like a donut of steel mesh. And that would act as the baffle. Really what you need, I mean, if we're going to get into like experimental suppressor design, I'm the wrong person to talk to. We need to get some other designers on here for that. But I have a good theoretical and halfway functional knowledge of some of this stuff. But what you want to do with a suppressor is you want to slow down the gases. You want to have something that catches those gases before they leave or after they leave the barrel, before they leave the tube, and slow it down. You want to cause turbulence and you want to slow it down. So what the steel mesh in the reflex portion does, if it was just open, all that gas would do, when you pressurize like a cylinder, it's pressurized instantly. It's not like you're not working in slow time as it slowly goes in there. They're all at the same pressure basically instantly. So with the stainless steel mesh that's there, it just adds more places for those hot gases to interweave and just slows them down. It's just like adding speed bumps in a HOA neighborhood, because someone's kid is out playing too much in the yard. It's the same concept. You just want to slow those gases down as much as possible. And you can do that with volume. You can do that with really good baffle design. This does not have a good actual baffle design, just because I am not a good machinist. I was using a machine that I was not terribly familiar with. So my baffle design itself, and I've posted pictures of it, but it's basically like a 1-inch hole repeated like 6 times, and then the whole piece rotated 90 degrees, and then the edges brought in. So if you were to look at it from the top, it would almost look like an I-beam. But stacked up, and then it's just, big wide holes through the side. So I could have made it a lot more efficient and have got more, sound suppression that way, but I am not a machinist.
Dude, I mean, I think you did an incredible job. I mean, from here it looks great. So,
It
and
gets the job done. That's what we like.
I'm feeling like on the left side I should just stop guessing. But the right side I got down pat. But the left, so don't hate me. Is that a Mosin with the 20 round mag?
Got that Mosin with the stendo in it.
Yeah.
It is. It
Oh,
is.
yes.
It is. In my that's the first gun I ever bought, by the way, ever.
Really? That
Ever.
specific one?
That specific gun.
Dang.
I
That's
bought
awesome.
that gun like literally when I turned 18. So that thing's like 18 years old, almost 19 years old.
Hell yeah.
And I just didn't shoot it that much. Mosins are not that pleasant to shoot. They're long. They're not, I'm not recoil averse or anything like that, but
Yeah.
they're not the most comfortable guns in the world to shoot. And like one day I was just feeling dumb and I'm like, no, man, I want to make this obnoxious. And this was sort of when Mosins were still cheap. And I actually had a friend over at Silencer Co. They milled it. They used one of their 5-axis CNC machines. So they used like a $2 or $3 million CNC machine to cut and thread the barrel down to 16.5 inches.
Oh my God.
It's got a dual chamber muzzle brake on it.
I see it. That's crazy.
I got rid of the iron sights because I wasn't going to reattach a front iron sight. I shortened the wood. I added a red dot sight because if you're going peak dumb, go peak dumb.
Right.
And I actually used it to test 2 different extended magazines. So the magazine's not detachable. It is still a fixed magazine, but it's a 25. Because normally they're 5, right? If I'm remembering right. Yeah, normally most of us with a 10 rounder, it's double. You can't go much more than that, just because not in that design, just because the 54R is a rimmed cartridge, and you can't double stack those. They don't play well. I mean, you can if you've got like an SVD. I think those are double stacked, but that's pretty much it. But yeah, there's 2 of them. There's one, I don't even remember who made the first one that I tested out, and it was shit. It was pure shit. It was just garbage, hot garbage. And then I reached out to this company and I'm like, hey, this other company's hot garbage. Let me check yours out. And they sent one over, actually sent a couple over for me to test out and to do giveaways on. And it works really well. It's just ugly as sin. Like the other one actually looks good. It's it's got a nice like straight design to it. It looks, and this one's just like, God, it's horrendous.
That's the truth though. It's like so many times like we end up choosing not choosing function over form. So I commend you for actually choosing the functional option.
But that thing, it shoots like 4-foot fireballs out each side and one out the front. So it's called Trogdor. It's the Burninator because it burninates the villagers. Dating myself a little bit there, but I actually have a custom leather engraved patch. You can't see it's behind the AR7 there, but it's got a custom Trogdor patch that Whiskey 24 made for me. He's an awesome guy. I can't like shout out like Whiskey 24 enough, and he doesn't watch these, but like he's a gear maker out of Arizona, and he works with this material called Hypalon, if I remember right. But this material is like the same stuff that they make like Zodiac boats out of.
What?
So it's kind of like a rubberized canvas material, and he makes like chest rigs and stuff out of them, and slings and all sorts of stuff. Really? And it's super lightweight, but really strong enough. Like you can like make like a drag handle out of it and drag someone out with it.
That's crazy.
But that guy has like supported so much of my stupid shit over the years. Like he's been a friend of mine for freaking decade or so.
That's awesome, man.
And anytime I'll just be like, hey, so what can your engraver engrave? He's like, we can do leather. And I'm like, we're making a patch. Let's get it done.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. What's up, Agorizer? And JC9, got a few more folks that came in here. Good to see y'all. And I know, dude, a bunch of, I Want to Ride. What's up, man? A bunch of the folks in here are, viewers of yours as well. So we got some cross cross viewership.
Hopefully we have one or two. I never do lives on my channel. I don't know if I would or not. Like I've got a big subscriber count, but YouTube always throttles. You know, YouTube, anything gun content related, YouTube just butchers.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And you can see the difference between like when when we have something that's monetized versus not monetized, or when we have like something that is not even firearm related, right? If we're doing something, we've done a lot of things on like soil and farming bees and water and like things not even related to firearms, but well, we mostly do firearm stuff. And it's crazy to see the difference. But I don't know, man. I think that the channel itself gets a hot stamp on it of these are dirtbags,
But it's weird. It really depends. I do have to shout out Lawfully Armed though with the Dead Rag Radio. Holy shit! Is that that is a name I have not heard in a long time? Is Dead Rag Radio?
Dead Rag Radio.
Dead
I don't
Rag
even know
Radio.
about
If
that.
we're talking about the same Dead Rag Radio, that was God, Jeff and a couple of other guys. It was an Airsoft podcast, and I was on there a couple times. I had like a guest spot. Holy cow, Dead Rag Radio. Wow, that's a blast from the past.
So that's somebody that's been a viewer of yours for a while. Then,
yeah, clearly they've been there since, what was I saying, like 2007? But so the YouTube and gun content is super weird. So like long form content, it's tough. Like any sort of long form content, I could do like the best video in the world, like the best one. I could have the best thumbnail about the best content, everything they want. And YouTube, and I got like 200,000 subscribers. YouTube will show it to like 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Shorts, on the other hand, YouTube Shorts are a whole different beast. And if I have a particular, and I can never control what shorts take off and which ones don't. You have no say over that, and it's almost never immediate. What'll happen is you do a short on whatever. I did a whole series of shorts at the beginning of the year, starting January 1st, going through. I tried to go through every gun in my collection, and I released them once a day.
Yep.
And they would do okay, they do fine as far as things go, but then all of a sudden,
it would just
one would just go up, and it would be sitting there getting like 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 views a day, and the subscription count would rise along with it, and it would have its nice little peak, and then it would go right back down. Cliff. And I get one of those surges about every 2 months, and then who knows, but as we were talking about in the green room before, is I don't have YouTube strikes. I know the rules. They suck. They're shitty rules, but I know what they are. I know what we can and cannot talk about. I know what keywords they listen for. I know all of that stuff. I know that like the quickest thing that you could do to get banned is to say a video is something that it's not. But like I'm not in any trouble with YouTube. Like I said, I've got like squeaky clean record. I had one attempted strike, not even an attempted strike. It was an attempted content violation. Actually, when I was making the video on how I designed the RMR mount on that Derlisle thing, I did just a super like basic video of showing how to go from a sketch on a piece of paper to a printed object. And it was like 30 minutes long. It was me doing my shitty CAD work, and it was long form content.
Fusion 360
I do everything in Fusion 360.
That's right.
I handicap myself by doing that, but it's the only one that has made sense with my like weaponized autism. And it's the only one that works for my brain. And it has limitations sometimes, and sometimes it does really wonky stuff. And that's, I don't know if we can get that guy in frame. I don't even know if that's close enough to call that a gun.
Oh, bro. Okay, so I was on Ralph's roast when we saw. I actually took a screenshot of it, Oh, if you have a picture of it, then you could screen share it, and I could pull it up with the ETS mag and all that.
Let me see.
If not, I can pull it up too.
You may need to pull it up because I've got one on my phone, but I'm streaming from my laptop.
Okay. Okay.
But the whole idea for that came out of a rendering error. It literally, I deleted the wrong fillet, and it donutted the whole frame. Like, it made the whole frame one donut.
That's
and it
crazy.
deleted so much shit. And I'm like, and I screenshotted it, and I'm like, go home, Fusion 360, you're drunk. And then I was looking at it, and I'm like, shit, we still got room for rails in there.
Yeah, right.
Hold on a minute. And so I decided to recreate the idea of that, of just what is the stupidest thing that's like the minimal amount of frame. I like I said, I went out of the country, and I still got back in, so obviously I'm not on a no-fly list or a no-entry list, so that's good.
All good things.
But I need to throw a slide back on that and hit the range very carefully. Like, that is very much going to be a vice and a string.
Got it. So I can actually send this to us or me, and then pull it up. You can see
stupid.
There's who was it? It was PD Ralph, Mr. Snow, Chairman Juan, and the dude from Stark Media. I think you were in chat when
I was in chat. Yeah, I'll pop into chat on that. I've done a live with them before, and it's a lot of fun. But like, you were trying to schedule this with me for a minute. Like, you see that it is hard to schedule shit with me.
Yeah,
I am not bougie. I do not try to be a very bougie man, but I have a lot of girls in my life that keep me very, very busy.
I respect that.
And it just, it's tough to get on and hop on, but so I'll always honestly, usually be able to jump in and just be like, I'm here, roast the shit out of something I built.
Yeah, dude, I love that, and honestly, I'm grateful that you're taking the time to jump on. Like, we have a small channel, less than 3,000 subs, and it's we've had a lot of like incredible people on here, like you being one of them, and I also have a small family of girls that keep me busy too, and I totally understand that. So hopefully I wasn't too pushy, like, hey, don't forget about me.
You're good, man. You kept me accountable. I like it.
Awesome.
I think it was a 780 was asking about, he wanted to talk high points. He wanted to talk the high point on the wall.
Yeah.
That is the vault point.
Which one is that?
That guy.
Okay.
With that big. This is the problem, is I do so much of my shit in gray, and I have a gray wall, so everything just kind of disappears. So I think it was like Parts Dispense reached out to me and was like, hey, we love what you do. Can we send you a parts kit to do something, design some stuff around? And I'm like, hell yeah. What are you going to send? And they're like, we got a bunch of these high point Model C kits. It's not even a C9. It's the one that was before the C9, just the Model C. And they're like, yeah, we got one of these. Do you want it? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, hell yeah. Do you know what? Hell yeah, let's do it. And I leaned into it, and I'm like, no, we are making a gun from Fallout. We're making, it's the 10 millimeter pistol from Fallout is what it's designed like. It's got a fixed compensator on the front. And it shoots, it works. It hasn't grenaded itself yet. Better than some of my other printed compensator designs. But that one does have a steel liner inside.
Now, does that is a 9mm though, right?
It is a 9mm. Yeah, yeah. It's not.
But it's based off of the 10mm.
Yeah, it's based off of the whatever they called. I think it was the 10 millimeter pistol, I think is what they called it. Gotcha. Specifically the one from Fallout 4, if I remember. But yeah, I could have done the 40 Smith & Wesson, and that technically would have been 10 millimeter. And maybe if I find a good one, I'll slap it in there. I think it's the same, basically everything.
I actually had somebody hit me up recently and was like, yo, I love that you're getting into printing. Like, well, I mean, into printing. And, I would love to contribute here, but I can send you a high point. It's not like a whole kit, but it's like a upper, slide.
Yeah, barrel assembly. And
yeah. And I was like, I'll let you know. Thank you. Like, let me kind of think. And I wasn't trying to be rude. I just was like, I don't know. Like, I got my first clog, and I'm like up there with like the needle thing, and
My man, let me tell you, it still happens. Like it will keep happening. It will never stop happening. As soon as you get your machine, you know exactly what it's going to do, and it fucks shit up. And like at a moment's notice, you will have no idea what's going on, and it'll just like, oh, I am just going to start having a completely irrational error for the next 3 days.
So what is the best? And this could help some folks in our community here. What is the best practice? Like, what do you do? Like, I came down, an hour into a half hour into a print, and it's just like up like an inch in the air, zzz, zzz, and I was like, what? What is going on? And I thought it was like well, whatever. What's the best practice to, you're clogged. What do you do?
So I have never used the acupuncture needle to clear out the nozzle.
Hold on, is that what it is?
It's an acupuncture needle, yeah.
Like it's an actual.
It's an actual like honest to God acupuncture needle.
What?
I found that out because my dad's a freaking weeb, and I got him into 3D printing, and he's just like, oh, did you notice the acupuncture needle? I'm like, no, because I don't go to Chinese like acupuncture and massage parlors, dude. Like chill out. That's not how I get my kicks. But it's an acupuncture needle.
That's crazy.
But I never use that. Whenever I have a clog, if I notice and I catch it in clog, cold pull. I will do a cold pull on it.
Really?
Yep. Cold pulls are one of the like unsung heroes of printer maintenance. It's a good idea just to do one. Do you know what a cold pull is?
So from what I understand, it is when you literally like pull like the shit on the end, when you like pull the filament through, or no?
Yeah. So what I will do when I do a cold pull is I will loosen the top Bowden connector.
Okay.
And slide that up, the Bowden tube, just so that you have just the feed tube or just the filament. You can pull the Bowden tube out. You just want filament. You get it hot. Like I will crank my machine up to the max to get it like good and hot. And you're doing that while you're pushing pressure on the filament down into the nozzle. Okay. Once it really starts flowing well, turn off the machine. And keep the pressure on there. So you need to make sure you have like enough filaments that you're not like all of a sudden going to run out of pressure when you're pushing down.
Yeah.
But what you want it to do is you want it to, as you're pushing it down, and now it's going to start cooling down. 3D Arms is correct. You can get special cold pulling filaments for it. And that's like the best way to do it. But if you're like in a pinch and you're just trying to kind of clean out your nozzle. But you want to keep that downward pressure on there until it stops. Okay. Until that filament will not go anymore because the nozzle is cool. It doesn't take long for a nozzle to do a steep drop in temp from printable temperatures to cold temperatures.
I've noticed that, man. I was blown away at how quickly it
within
drops.
30 seconds, it'll stop melting usually.
Yeah.
So you have it till it goes, and then you let it sit.
Okay.
Let it sit for a second. Then you kind of do the opposite. Now you're holding it a little bit and keeping a little bit of top pressure, pulling it out, but it's not going to come out yet because it's stuck in the nozzle, right?
Okay, yeah.
So when you're doing that, then you heat up the machine again, and you keep that upward pressure until it just gets hot enough to release, and it'll pull. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull out a plug, and that plug is going to have whatever shit made its way into your filament. It's going to have dust. It's going to have metal shavings. It's going to have so much random stuff.
Nice.
When you pull it out. And that's going to, if in a pinch, it is a way to like get a good clean nozzle and snip that little sucker out, toss it, and then try printing again. That I have chased problems. I fixed a lot of problems with a cold pull
Mhm.
The weirdest problem I ever had that took me forever to diagnose, and it sucked so bad, was I was in the middle of like a 600 or 700 hour print contract. Um,
Holy shit.
this a through through a mutual friend, I was referred to a Hollywood actor who's turning into a director. He's
Mhm.
directing his first movie. Um, and he liked my design work. He liked my aesthetic. come out and PLA or just change the nozzle. Absolutely that too.
Oh,
Copals,
dude, I
dude,
got
copals
another.
are helpful, but also having a stash of like 50 nozzles on standby.
That's so funny because I actually think I have another nozzle floating around here.
Oh yeah. Um, but yeah, so this director's like, hey, I like your aesthetic. I'm making a movie. I need a prop design.
Mhm.
Can you design it? And I'm like, sure. So I'm on a Zoom call with him and I'm designing as he's talking.
Wow.
And just going through and going through and going through. And then I show him the design and he's like, how did you do that? Like, we were just talking here, but how did you just design that? And I'm like, dude, I weaponize autism, man. Like an ADHD, like I can get this shit done quick.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to print him one, and I printed him one and sent it. And this was a paid job. Um, I sent him one, and he's like, "We love it. We need 10 more." And I'm like, "Okay." So I printed
Damn.
10 more um, at an
Or
agreed
was
upon
this
rate.
like 100% infill, freaking 20-hour prints each or some shit?
Um, each each item itself was 12 hours in print parts, and then there was a container that on the original bid was only supposed to be one container for 10 units. It ended
Mhm.
up being 10 containers for 10 units. I
Dang.
underbid myself a little bit on the first run with a friend and family rate. But it was a lot. But it ended up being, like I said, it was like a 600-hour print contract.
Wow.
And I got really into time management with that. I bought a second and a third machine, and just had them running like they were running 24/7. It was all the same filament for the most part, which was really nice.
Mhm.
But I had to come up with some like creative things that once the NDA expires or once the actual movie comes out, I can actually start talking about it. I know it has an
Nice.
IMDb page now, so it is actually in development. They got a producer. But what these props were for was so that they could go to other they could go to producers and they're like, hey, this is like a key component of the movie that we're doing, and here's kind of how it looks. And they sent me a couple pictures of like a couple of like actual honest to god celebrities like playing around with this stuff that I designed and printed,
Damn.
which was just freaking super cool. But like
That's awesome.
I was in the middle of this contract, so they ordered like 10 and that was good. And then like a month later or a couple weeks later, they're like, dude, these are a hit, we love them, we need 20 more. And that's where the big contract came into play.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey guys, I'm not doing any dev work right now, for gun stuff. I can design stuff, but I cannot print a damn thing for the next month. And for a month, my machines were running effectively nonstop.
Damn. You were running
I
3?
I would plan stuff out. Yeah, my Ender 3, my Ender 3 version 2, and then my Anycubic Viper. Um, and in the middle of this, everything fails.
Oh.
Like one of my machines just starts having a super weird error where it's giving me intermittent um, clogs, and nothing was clogged. There was nothing clogged. It was acting like the filament was wet. Filament wasn't wet. I had bought a dehydrator. It was
Mhm.
acting like it was skipping teeth on the extruder. It wasn't. I put in a double steel tooth extruder. Um, I was like overnighting parts to like I had to keep the machine running. I had a deadline.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually what it was the stupidest thing. It was seriously the dumbest thing. The little connector on top of your on top of your heat block, on top of
Mhm.
your extruder, wasn't holding as well.
That's it.
That's it.
The shit
That's it.
with the little clip on
With the
it.
little clip. And what was happening is it was just inching out, just a fraction of a millimeter, just a
Oh.
little bit. You know what happens when that happens? That
Hmm.
filament fills that gap, hardens, creates micro clogs.
Oh.
and it was clogs that were clearing itself because it would just, and you could hear it like popping, like it was sounding like wet filament. But what it was doing is it was air, it was just a clog, and then it was pushing through, so it was just having little air bubbles in it.
Okay, yeah.
But
So
it was the stupidest thing because I had spares. Every Ender 3 comes with a spare of this piece.
Yeah.
And I eventually got it fixed. I got it going. I hit the contract date, like got it done.
Nice.
And have not had any work from them since. Thankfully, I will say, I'll be credited in the movie, which is cool. And when they actually get their prop budget put together, they want to bring me on board as their full-time prop master.
Damn.
The problem being I have a real good 9-to-5. Like my day job is cush. And, if it's something I could do remotely, maybe go out there for a couple weeks and, blast some stuff through, maybe. But like, I'd rather outsource. Let me be the designer. I am not a, print farm production studio. And really that's what should have happened. And you better believe on that second run of 20 that they ordered, I'm like, hey guys, this first one was friends and family rate. This second order is like full. You actually have some funding rate.
Yeah.
Pay me my money. And they did, dude. They cut a check and it showed up, and I'm like, oh shit, I actually got to do this. I actually made
damn it, it's real.
I made my bid high enough that I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be an asshole because I know what my cost is, and I can't, it's hard to factor in machine time because like I wasn't doing anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I mean, the reality is that the value to them becomes not like, it's not only just the items, the time, the energy, the development work. It's also they'll be able to nail and produce. Like the movie will become a thing based off of this. I think the value proposition at that point is well beyond the item itself.
Well, they got an absolute steal. And it was super cool for me to be like, yeah, and I've got this dude on speed dial now. And like, he is a like Hollywood actor. He has been in things that I have seen. And like, I will text him gun designs and he's like, bro, that's super crazy. Like, that's the coolest thing. And I'm like, cool. So you like, do y'all need some guns? Like, I promise I'll do a better job as a weapons master than whoever the hell was on the set of freaking Rust. I promise no one's getting Alec Baldwin.
Right. So who is it in what movie? I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
You know what? When I can, I will be very happy to release that. I was gonna say, speaking of, because we were kind of talking a little bit earlier about like the weird things that we discover in NDAs and weird stuff like that. But like, what I was saying, and I posted on my Instagram that like, I found out today that the freaking U.S. Army referenced me in obtaining a patent for a grenade.
Yeah.
Like,
that shit is so cool, dude.
It's really, I wish it was like monetized. Like I wish there was a way for me to get some Raytheon bucks out of that.
I mean, there may be a way you could come back and be like, yo, you guys are using my design partially.
What's funny is it wasn't even something I designed. It was something I talked about, and I talked about functionally how it worked. It was someone else's product, but it's just like they didn't reference the product. They specifically referenced me, which was the weirdest thing in the whole world. So I'm like, yeah, I joke and I kid. I'm like, hey, Raytheon, give me my money. Like, I got no claim to anything. But at the same time, and the reason how this came about, and for any like gun designers that are in the chat, this is actually kind of a good idea.
There's a few out there right now too.
You should check yourself on Justia. So Justia is a website that shows lawsuits. It shows patents. It shows like all sorts of like federal stuff. And say somebody is suing you for trademark infringement or patent infringement, and they don't know your real name, they're going to be suing you through your pseudonym that you do designs under or anything like that. You can search for that. And I did it today just out of the blue. My day job's in the legal field, so I'm on websites like this all the time. And I was like, oh, this would be fun. Let's jump on there and see if there's anything for Booligan. And there was, and I'm like, fuck, what is this?
That's how you found it?
And that's how I found it. And I was like, okay, well, cool. It's not a lawsuit. Nobody's suing me. Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I looked into it, and it's like, yeah, it's a patent application from the U.S. Army for a variable explosive yield fragmentation grenade.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
And basically what they're doing is they took an airsoft grenade design. Like they literally took, it's a deep fire Mark II airsoft grenade design, but weaponized it so that instead of blowing off the plastic shells and some BBs of this airsoft grenade, it blows off fragmented steel.
Dude, that's awesome.
But it's variable yield. So if they want to use it as less than lethal, they can just fill it up with the compressed non-flammable gas, and it will pop and it will pressurize and it will like balloon out the outer covering. I'm just, from what I interpreted in the patent, it'll balloon it out and fragment out steel at lower velocities than, it'll still kill the hell out of someone, but
low velocity steel,
low-ish velocity steel. But then part of the patent is like, oh, if we want to go like full send on this, you just hit it with an actual explosive gas or like, something that's actually volatile. And now it will explode and overpressure and kill the hell out of somebody intentionally.
And do you remember seeing any specific type of explosive compounds in there, like Comp B, Simtex?
It was all listing gases. They were it was like a purely gas grenade, and one of the ways that they were, which seems like you wouldn't be able to get even with like an explosive gas, like a potato gun grenade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the only way that you could do that would be if you contained the outer wall to hold that pressure a little bit longer to give you more boom. And that was part of their patent, was being able to adjust effectively a balloon on the outside of it made of various spec materials.
That's crazy.
That like, oh, we need to go like full send with this. Okay, cool. Slap on the thick boy outer and fill it up with some hydrogen and like chuck it in there, and there you go.
Dude, I need to look that up. You said the site is Justia?
Justia, yeah.
Okay.
But it's weird, and I'm like going through this thing, and there's like other references. Booligan Airsoft, Deep Fire Mark II Airsoft grenade, and I'm like, what the fuck?
And then, dude, so this is the funny thing. A lot of people probably don't know. I didn't know that you kind of got your start into the whole YouTube thing years ago in Airsoft.
Oh yeah, man.
Like this wasn't even a gun thing for you at first. Well,
no. So.
And what's up, Aegis and others, by the way? What's up, fellas?
But yeah, I got started in shooting people for fun back in like the late 1990s.
Perfect verbiage there.
But I was doing, we'll see how quickly this stream goes down. But I was doing paintball. I was on like a sponsored paintball team back when like Woods Ball was a thing still. And then it all became speedball, and that wasn't our play style, and I lost all my sponsors. And I'm like, cool, what's another like fun way that I can shoot my friends? And it was around that time, like 99, 2000, that I discovered Airsoft. And these were either hyper expensive, like Tokyo Marui guns, like $400 or $500 for an all plastic, low velocity electric gun, and cheap springers. But like,
I miss those days.
Right, it was so easy. Like everything was like cheap. It was either, like you could just get the cheap stuff and collect. And that's, I mean, clearly I enjoy collecting. Obviously,
it was all AEGs or springers like that. That was it. And I still to this day have my first Taurus 92 spring clone.
That was my first. I don't know if mine was a Taurus. If it was silver, but I don't remember if it was a Taurus or if it was an actual M9.
Okay.
I would have to try to find some old pictures back in the day. But back then we took film pictures. Digital. We didn't have a studio quality digital cameras.
Right.
But I love collecting. I love guns. I love the aesthetics of guns. I love watching The Rock, the movie, while I'm holding an MP5. I love watching Spaceballs while I'm holding a Calico. Like,
hell yeah.
you know, you better believe that thing comes off the wall when I'm watching Saving Private Ryan. That's just how I am. Like, I have this like deep core association with like movies and TV and other entertainment like that, and guns, and hence so many of my design decisions.
Yeah.
But you can't collect real guns when you're like when it's that expensive. Like, you can't just buy every MP5 you want when you're, you know, a glorified teenager.
Yeah.
And Airsoft was like such a good way for me to do that. And I did Airsoft for a while, doing just soft collecting until I actually discovered, until cheap China-made AEGs came out.
Yeah.
JG, Sima, Echo One, like when those guys came out, all of a sudden it, instead of collecting, it became more about playing. Still collecting and building, but like you weren't throwing down, you know, $500-600 to get started. You were throwing down $200 and being competitive.
And it really also became about like the performance of the gun as opposed to the, you know, the aesthetics of the gun, like what it looked like. It, you know, what was the FPS? What was the capacity? What, you know, what speed loaders?
Chasing numbers.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember, like, dude, I used to rock. I had an old Dick's Sporting Goods M4, and I got a couple of the extra batteries. I would pre-charge, like I would line up all the batteries, and like
you set them on a Christmas tree timer, because none of us had smart chargers in the early days.
I still don't have smart timers.
But like, I was lucky because I lived in Vegas at the time. And what happens in Vegas every January? SHOT Show.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Nobody in Airsoft was covering SHOT Show. Nobody.
Dang.
Sorry, I take that back. Airsoft International magazine. They would fly over from England. They would cover SHOT Show, but they didn't really have an online presence that much at the time. I was part of Airsoft Retreat, which, like, if that's going to date me a little bit, if there's any old Airsoft Retreat people in the chat, but like Airsoft Retreat was a forum. It was great. It was a great source of knowledge and builds and just fun stuff. But I went and I got a press pass through Airsoft Retreat to go down there and
to SHOT
and to cover it, because I was local. You know, I was the only local guy. No one's gonna fly down to SHOT Show. There was like 4 Airsoft vendors there.
Yeah.
And I went and I met all these guys, and then I really quick to P38 Wilbur. They need to do SHOT Show the same time they do the porn awards. They do. They used to not. They used to do it the same time as CES. CES used to be the same weekend and the same convention center. It all used to be Venetian Convention Center for CES for at least one of the halls, and the AVN show was at the same time. I have attended both.
Yeah.
I have accidentally attended AVN by going to CES, going down one staircase and going up the wrong staircase, and just kind of casually flipping my badge around.
Nice.
But the AVN, or excuse me, the CES wives got pissed, and they're like, no, this is bullshit. We don't want to do this the same time our husbands keep going out and seeing strippers. So they moved it. And I know for a couple years they moved it to the same time as SHOT Show. I don't know if it's still the same time, because I don't usually go to SHOT Show anymore. I'm kind of over that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I went a couple times, and it becomes so much more of a task. The first time you're there, it's like, whoa, like this world is so big. And then after that, it just kind of becomes more work, or more of a task. What's up, Kimball? What's up? A few people are referencing the old gas blowbacks, and I fell in love the first time I held. It was the Mac 11, but it was the 380 size Mac 11.
That's the Mac 11. The Mac 11 is the 380 size. We keep thinking of like the Mac 11, but what we're thinking of is the Mac 11-9.
Yeah.
But yeah, the old
10.
KWA, the 10, which is the 45. But yeah, the KWA and the KWC Mac 11s, dude, those were freaking screamers.
Oh, with the gas?
Just boop. Yeah. I actually think I still have one over on my shelf. So in my
Nice.
room of guns here, I still have a wall of old airsoft stuff. I still have like $7,000 or
That's
$8,000 worth of airsoft guns in here that I need to
Damn.
sell. But I do fun projects with some of them. I have teased one, and I think I can show this because I don't think anyone's going to recognize it as a gun.
Yeah.
I have teased it a little bit if I can do this without falling over.
We've done crazier things on the stream.
So
what?
So this is my bazooka. It's my Kurtz model of bazooka.
I see
it doesn't have the front. The rest of the front end is over there. But what's going in this is a bolt action 12 gauge shotgun.
What?
Just because for reasons I want to shoot skeet with the bazooka.
That seems like an excellent idea.
You know, and maybe pop some slugs through it just to see some anti-material use. But like, I had this thing sitting around. I'm like, what can I shove in this that would be fun?
So hold on, that is an airsoft.
Yeah.
Bazooka, or well, I guess that's what model is that?
It is a super bazooka, which is like I swear to God, everything was named M1 around that time. I think it's like the M1A bazooka. I don't know. I could go back to my back to my old Airsoft channel where I reviewed it, find the exact name. But yeah, normally it's twice as long, and there's a front somewhere in the pile over there. But it was a terrible, terrible airsoft gun. It was horrific.
Did it just scatter BBs all over the place?
It used a 40 millimeter round, which can be great. I actually did a lot of work early on in helping develop some really inexpensive options for direct and indirect 40 millimeter rounds. So like shooting bazookas, shooting foam rounds. We'd use them for anti-vehicle use. We would use them for like if it lands within 10 feet of you, you're dead. Like shoot it into a room and it kills everybody.
Yeah.
But we were building them for super inexpensive using basically just a shell, some PVC pipe, and this really specific rubber coupler. And we would go out to games as like the counter force,
Yeah.
And I would bring along like 20 or 30 of those and be like, just give me back my shells, because those are the only part that like really cost money. Give me back my shells, but otherwise we want to, because every time you'd go to like a big airsoft event where people would have vehicles, the vehicles are there to wreck shop. They are there because somebody spent a lot of money building a fake tank, or they brought a deuce and a half, and they just want to go out fighting, and they will skew the rules in their favor because they knew at the time that nobody was bringing anti-vehicle weapons.
Yeah.
So I was making anti-vehicle weapons
of course.
to dispense to everybody. I was like the freaking CIA giving like stingers to people, just handing them around all over the places. Be like, here you go. Like, hey, there's going to be tanks on this one. Here's 5 of these things. Go out.
That's awesome.
Here's how to set up a field of fire. This has a good accurate range out to about 150 to 200 feet. Have fun. And
damn, for real? That far?
Dude, we were popping Nerf footballs literally 300 feet.
Okay, and so like, is it gas or?
Yeah. It uses compressed gas stored in a 40 millimeter shell. And you can either put BBs in the shells, and all the firing mechanism is just pushing a button on the back. They're super easy. But if you don't load any BBs in it, you just have a nice volume of gas that can then push whatever. As long as you balance what your barrel length is with your gas capacity and your shell. And we all had formulas for like this shell from this company. You really, really want this length of barrel if you're pushing this weight of projectile. Like, dude, we came up with formulas. We came up with like the cheat sheet for all of this. Friggin' Milsim Labs. Milsim Labs are the VIPs in that space. They still are. And he's still making really awesome. I'm looking around to see if there's anything here. Probably not. I'd probably knock my laptop over again if I tried to find one. But
you know what would be dope? I just thought of it. So not to cut you off, but the 12 gauge that 3D Arms developed, putting that mofo in that, or some type of and of course it's kind of a troll in a way, because that thing is so beautiful on its own, just to yeah, it needs to be out in its own glory. But that would be freaking awesome to have that thing in some type of. I'm sorry, I got this little freaking bug flying around me. Uh, yeah, but that's sick. That's awesome. And how old were you at that time you were doing this shit?
I was in my 20s at this point because this would have been like I was still in Vegas, so it was pre 2007, 2008. So like 2006, 2007. It would have been like 21, 22.
Okay.
But it
Man.
was, dude, it was just fun. It was fun. Um, and that ended up going between the YouTube channel and doing reviews on Airsoft Retreat. I actually ended up being the managing editor for a print Airsoft magazine.
What?
Yeah, Airsoft Insider magazine. We were putting out like 20 to 30,000 issues every quarter. We were shipping them overseas. You could walk into a Borders Books
Damn.
or a Barnes and Noble and buy our magazine off the shelf.
What?
And I used to no one asked me to do this, but I used to straight up go in there and just like autograph a copy, be like, "Hey guys, Booligan.
That's awesome.
God, I'm sorry your issue is worth less now." And the people at Barnes and Noble are like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Look, it's me. I'm right here." And they're like,
It's me, it's
"Get
mine.
out of our store.
You just defaced our property.
You have to buy it now."
Oh, that's great.
But then, like at that point, it's when my body kind of started not enjoying airsoft as much.
Yeah.
I've got like bad knees. I'm a fat ass, and like great way to stay in shape, not a good way to get in shape.
Good call. It's
And
rough. It's brutal. It's rough. I
oh yeah,
mean, like if you go out for anybody out there that's in a similar position as Booligan and myself, and if you're not small, man, I literally got like Black Hawk knee pads and Black Hawk elbow pads and shit. Like you really got to gear up for that shit.
dude, you
Just
roll
saying.
an ankle and you're done. You're done all day at this age. Like these kids, they like will slide headfirst into a brick wall and they just like dust themselves off. Like, no,
Yeah.
we're good, let's go. And I'm just like, so I'm in Utah now, and we would play airsoft. There's a haunted house here called Fear Factory, and there's a couple of groups that would play out at Fear Factory. They don't open it up anymore, which sucks. But it's an old, it's not abandoned, but it's an old factory where they made cement, I think, and now it's a haunted attraction. Dude, this place was the best airsoft field ever, ever. We're talking, you're shooting people from like 80 feet up. They're shooting back at you.
What?
You've got huge spaces. This is indoors too. You're up on catwalks and like, dude, it is so much fun. The last time I played out there, I was wearing a bump helmet and I had my GoPro and I was trying to do a dumb little maneuver to get down from a wall and I fell and hit my head on the ground on the steel catwalk. I had an actual,
Oh,
I had a ski helmet on. I wasn't wearing like a prop helmet.
yeah.
And it's a good thing I did because I hit hard enough that it actually like it corrupted my GoPro file. Like
Damn.
it stopped recording. Um, and I was at that point, I was just done. I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore. The outdoor play isn't that fun for me. And frankly, a lot of the airsoft groups here in Utah just kind of sucked. There's like
Yeah.
one in particular, which I won't name, that was just dude, they were like calling in like death threats on other people in my little like unassociated group. Dude, it's drama. Dude, if
What?
you think the gun maker space has drama, dude, airsoft space is all of that, but also with children.
Oh god, the dudes that are like playing Call of Duty, like, bro, I'm gonna come over and fuck your mom. Like
but the
those
thing is
kids.
like these guys had like military contracts. Like we would actually do immersion training with the National Guard with some of these groups. Like they bring out
Yeah.
Humvees and Apache flyovers and shit, and like we would do these crazy games out in the woods or out in the desert. We ain't got no woods right here, but like it's just
Damn.
the egos are just got super toxic. It just stopped being fun, and that's when I was like, you know what, let's do more like real gun stuff.
Yeah.
I actually had a budget at that point and I kind of was an adult um, at doing more adult builds and more adult spending, and getting into the design work and getting into 3D printing really made so much of that possible.
Do you think it
um,
was also like your exposure to firearms via SHOT Show and stuff like that, and then like your first firearms purchase, or were you already purchasing firearms during your airsoft?
I was buying guns too, but they were more practical.
Okay.
It wasn't so much like let me build something ridiculous, like
Hmm.
now where I'm like, no, hell no, we need a Glock with like a half pound of tungsten weights in it. Hell yeah, that's what the world needs. No, it was like, I need a good self-defense pistol. I need a good self-defense rifle. I need a
Yeah.
good self-defense shotgun, and anything else is just fluff. I traded a lot. I did a lot of trades, a lot of up trades, a lot of probably down trades.
Hmm.
Um, but like now it's kind of at the point where, and I diversify my funds. Um, so the YouTube channel makes some money. It doesn't make a lot of money, but it makes some money. And the
Hmm.
YouTube channel is what pays for stuff like this. Like
Hmm.
that pays for the stuff that I'm not really doing any design work for. I'm stuff that I'm collecting, stuff that I'm showing, and I'm creating content about.
Hmm.
Um, and like halfway educational, halfway entertaining stuff. Um, but I also, in order to help support the work that I do for design stuff, I have a website. I used to have a Patreon until Patreon kicked me off. Um,
What?
oh yeah, dude. I was offering early access to subscribers,
Yeah.
for beta files and stuff, and I got successful enough within like a month or so that Patreon they flagged it, and they're like, yeah, you can't do that. And I'm like, they're like, you can't give guns to people. And I'm like, I'm not giving guns to people. I'm giving code. I'm giving ones and zeros. And they're like, well, we consider that to be. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
I should
crazy,
I should
man.
have hit it in like an NFT, and someone has to like decrypt it themselves, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But like
That's the
they,
crazy thing, man. That oh man, it muddies the waters so much
oh yeah,
because it's the same conversation with what we're looking at now with like the ATF coming in and making the rule change with their fiat law
mm-hmm.
in June, and then them saying, "Oh, we're actually going to do it April 1st." How's that sound? It's like, at what point does something become a firearm?
Yep.
And that's
Well,
crazy to me.
we're seeing that really early now with the Form One suppressors.
Yep.
That the Form One suppressors, the mass invalidations of in process Form One applications,
Yep.
the potential uh, invalidation of previously issued and approved Form One stamps is something that's happening ish.
Yep.
And they're really using that to kind of figure out what the determination of a suppressor part is.
Yeah.
Um, and like God, the whole idea that they're doing is, well, okay, so you're going to need to provide information about what you're using to build this suppressor, and you need to send us
Mhm.
pictures of any materials. And if you have any materials, you're fucked. You're not getting approved. You just bought
Yep.
materials because you bought those materials to
With
make
the
a suppressor.
intention.
So the
Exactly.
question is like, okay, so am I just supposed to send you a?
Like a concept.
Am I supposed to send you? And I did that when I filed that guy because I thought you had to. I actually thought you had to file your designs. So I filed
Mhm.
a design for that, um,
Mhm.
and it got approved and it was fine and whatever because this was a year or so ago. So it was before all this tomfoolery was going on. But like, am I
Mhm.
supposed to send you guys like a CAD file and a picture of a spool of filament, or are you going to say, oh, you're going to print it out of that filament? Did you get that filament with the intention?
Yep.
And it's just it's such a joke. It's such a nightmare. And like I'm waiting that yeah, maybe I'm going to get called on that. Maybe I'm going to get a letter saying, hey, did you, what did you build this Derlisle out of? What did you build that thing out of? And I'm like, am I going to have to show the pictures that I took machining a piece of aluminum down?
Yeah, that's so crazy. I literally was within like a week or two of submitting a Form 1 for a can, and I was just going to take a cylindrical, 6.5 inch
Mm-hmm.
piece of aluminum, and I was going to just take, the um, triangles, cut the triangles out of it, make a monocore stack of K baffles,
Yep.
leave about a half inch on each side. 1/2 inch would be the end cap, if you will, so essentially like permanently installed. The other half inch would be a little more than a half inch, but it would be threaded, so I could literally just serialize the monocore baffle stack and then press fit a aluminum sleeve over it.
Yep.
And I've seen crazier things done with much less.
That's basically what that is. The difference
Yeah.
is my tube on that one is the thing that's serialized because I want to be able to clean it. So the end of that is welded.
Okay.
So it's a welded end cap, but the base,
that's threaded on.
So the very base of it is actually threaded onto the base of the barrel, which is threaded to lock up against the receiver. That's how you set your headspace on these caliber conversion Mausers, is you use a lock nut. So that lock nut on the suppressor is what sets the headspace. So to clean it, there's a couple of screws around the perimeter of that base, just because I really suck at cutting threads. And there's an O-ring in there to actually seal it up tight. Like I put some kind of trick engineering into that. Yeah. So to clean it, you just take those out and slide the tube off, and then you're left with the barrel still locked in headspace, but the tube doing what it needs to be.
Nice. That's dope. And that's 45 ACP?
45 ACP, yeah.
Nice.
He's off of 1911 mags.
Okay.
It has no recoil whatsoever because it's like an 8 or 9 pound rifle.
Yeah.
It's a thick boy, but it shoots super good. It's super accurate. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I know we kind of stopped halfway through, but I want to acknowledge you have is that so you got your Calico, so that's the 100 round 22 LR?
Yep, 100 round 22.
And then you got your looks like an H&K MP5.
So it's a 22 MP5 and it's an SBR.
Okay.
Because I SBR 22s because why not?
You do. That's awesome.
That's a 12 gauge.
Yep. Okay. I do remember seeing that.
The little 10-inch barrel 12 gauge. Yep. PTR 91.
Nice.
That's the long cowboy Heritage Rough Rider, the 16-inch model. You got the Cyberpunk 2077 Glock, my PPC Model 10. That is the RE45 inspired Springfield XD frame from Titanfall.
Nice.
And then the Evo-Mac that I promise it's going to get into beta soon. And, a couple of the other goodies in the middle.
That's tough, though, man. A lot of people don't understand, when you're looking at the development of, so let's use the Evo-Mac as an example. When you're looking at, first off, Scorpion magazines are tits. They're dope.
Oh, they're great.
Excellent.
Double stack, double feed. That's what all pistol caliber carbine mags need to be. Glock mags are great for Glocks and handguns, and they are terrible for everything else because double stack, high capacity, single feed magazines are ass, and I freaking hate them.
Well, and people may not understand unless they're followers of yours and viewers of yours that you're taking a Mac, which is a double feed single round, right?
That is the double stack single feed. Well,
double stack single feed to a double stack double feed.
Kind of either one. So like open bolt Macs, you could get them either way. You could get them. There were double stack double feed. There were double stack single feed.
That's true. Yep.
The bolts are one or the other, and luckily the VMAC bolts has a wide enough round push. I don't know what the hell you want to call that at the bottom of the bolt. It has a wide enough one that it will do double feed without any modifications to the bolt. Where the problem,
you need to modify the mag though.
You don't have to modify the bolt. You don't have to weld on a little pusher to make it wider. You don't have to do anything to the bolt. The problem is where we wish we could grab it.
Right.
The top of the Mac receiver is not wide enough to fit the top of an Evo-Mac.
Oh yeah.
So you have two options. You can machine a hole in the Mac upper. That is less than ideal. I want this to be strictly printable and hand tools. That's it. I want that to be this. So what you have to do is you have to modify the magazines. I'll do this without knocking the laptop over.
Yeah, good call.
So if you've seen an Evo magazine, how it normally is, where it has square sides.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
No longer has square sides. There's
Yeah.
enough meat. There's enough meat on those feed lips. It holds it. I have left this thing loaded for like 8 months,
Wow.
fully loaded, and there was no deformation of the lips. This is a PMAG. The problem is PMAGs suck. PMAGs for Evos are terrible. They're not very good. The follower design is kind of whack, and I think that's the problem that I'm having. So
I don't really have any problems with them. Is
Really?
it? Well, yeah, but I gotta say I typically run PSA mags or factory Scorpion mags, but I got a bunch of the P mags too.
But what the issue that I'm having is an issue that I've heard other actual Evo users have. So it may be an issue with the mag or something else. But the first mod is that you have to, put this chamfer on these edges so that it'll physically fit inside the receiver. And then there's a couple of tweaks made on this one just to get the feed angle right. And then it gets tricky because every other printed Mac is still set up for double stack single feed magazines.
Yeah.
So then I had to completely change the geometry on the feed ramp. I will tell you, the feed ramp geometry on any of these printed Macs is bullshit anyways. It is like good luck because the barrel sits, it's never a good blend between where the feed ramp starts and where the barrel sits. And that's why I was seeing pictures come out of Gunmaker's match of people who are running Macs, and you'd see that round, the bullet would be pushed way the hell in to the casing, and that's what happens is it'll hit the feed ramp and go up, and then it'll jam up against the barrel.
Yeah.
Now imagine you're trying to do that. Now imagine you're trying to do that from 2 different locations. So mine works. That's the thing. Mine functions now. I can get now all 30 rounds out of this or 32 out of this. I've got a factory mag that works now too.
Nice.
So it functions. It works. The problem is now, how do I convey, because I have an aluminum feed ramp in there from Riptide rails that I just took a Dremel to. I manually reshaped it, would take it, would check it with snap caps, identify if it was snagging anywhere, go in and reshape it again. So I almost need to send it to a proper 3D scanner and be like, cool, now replicate this, because then it can be printable. It would be ideal to be metal, but then it can be printable in a pinch.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it's at. It works, it shoots, it's super fun. But now it's just making the files in a way that anybody can make one, and that's the hiccup. And I get asked at least like 2 or 3 times a week, like, when's the Evo-Mac coming out? And I'm like, the problem is I could release it as it sits now and then send everybody a picture of what my feed ramp looks like and be like, make your feed ramp look like this.
Yeah,
it's not going to work. You know what I mean? It's like good luck, Godspeed. You're gonna probably, and if that feed ramp is off by a millimeter, it doesn't feed at all.
Well, and how are you
so fickle?
Yeah. And how are you modifying the magazines? Are you just dremeling, or how are you removing material from the magazines?
For the magazines, belt sander, Harbor Freight belt sander, because it doesn't need to be a compound curve. It's literally, you are machining a flat into this. You're just figuring it out. Push it on the belt sander, check it, push it, do the other side, check fit, adjust material as needed. And part of the release is going to have a printed template that you slide over the magazine to know when you are now in proper spec. And it will probably also just have guides that you slide off the back, and it'll have the edges missing. And it's sort of like sand to this point and then no further.
Okay, I could see that being effective. I don't know.
Just telling people to blindly sand on a belt sander, and you can do it with the Dremel, or you can do it even with a just some 150 grit sandpaper if you hate your wrists. But like, dude, a $20 Harbor Freight, or I think I bought it for like $25 or $30. Harbor Freight belt sander. It's an inch belt. It is a piece of shit. I have made knives with it, like decent knives. I have done every gunsmithing project I've ever done. I have reshaped the wood. If anybody remembers what that guy looked like when it had the wood furniture on it,
Yeah.
I shaped all of that on that belt sander.
Damn.
The flintlock back there, I shaped that and completely reshaped that grip and that stock, if you will, on that cheap belt sander. So like,
Wow.
depending on what you're using it for, you really can do good work with it. It's just learning to work within the limitations of the device at hand.
Damn. And somebody that's pretty awesome, by the way. Inspiring me to get a Harbor Freight belt sander.
Dude, seriously, it's the things in my shop other than this big bench. Got a whole bunch of punches, a whole bunch of hand tools. I've got a Central Machinery Harbor Freight drill press. I've got a Chicago Electric Harbor Freight little belt sander, like, and I've got a whole bunch of everyone kind of roasts me because I've got Ryobis. Everyone always roasts me whenever there's one of my Ryobi drills or impact drivers sitting in the background.
Yeah, yeah. I see that too. I think like PSR had some Ryobi, or I can't remember when, but people are always going to talk smack and be like, "Oh, you didn't get Milwaukee or DeWalt or whatever." But I think that's kind of like the magic, right? Like, I don't have a drill press, I don't have a vise, I don't have it. Like, every single build I've ever done was like on my lap, on the floor, on a folding table in my gun room, and like this is where the magic happens. So I think it honestly pushes you to perform. Like, the only thing you can do is like find the solution. Doesn't matter how you get there, and you'll start to acquire some tools over time. But I respect that shit, man. I think that's awesome.
It's better to, I don't know, and I know a lot of builders will disagree on me on this, just because you always want to start with the best habits. You don't want to develop bad habits by working around bad machinery. But like, if it comes between you're not building anything, you know what I mean? Like, if you can't get it done because you're not building anything because you refuse to buy a Harbor Freight drill press, you're saving up, for a more expensive one or a belt sander or whatever.
Yeah.
It's better to start and at least get some work done and start understanding how your machine works. So that way, if and when you do move on to bigger and better machines, I mean, shit, it's the same thing with 3D printers. I have literal months of machine time. Like, my machines have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours on them. And you know what I run? An Ender 3 that's almost box stock. An Ender 3 version 2, where the only upgrades are the yellow bed springs and a better a Capricorn tube. And an Anycubic Viper, which is my most expensive one. And I know Come Out and PLA is going to be upset about this. You know which machine is currently the one that's not running and is almost never running right? The freaking Viper.
Yeah.
That Viper has been nothing but problems for me. And anytime I get it running well, now some part of it's backing out or some part of it's doing this. And I have to get parts shipped to me from China because the strain sensor broke or whatever. And that happens. I get it. But like, if you learn to work on like cheap machines, like, you learn how it all works.
Yeah, and then if you do go out and get the good shit, then you're just spoiled after that.
Exactly. It's like you've been handed your stuff on a silver spoon. Like, you didn't have shards of metal come off of your unguarded belt sander and embed into your chest. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, right. If you've not had to prick out like stainless steel splinters from your face, like, you're not living.
Have you even lived?
Yeah. Jeez.
But no, it's my best advice, and like, I can't be on for too much long today. This has been an absolute blast. But like, best advice is just like, get into it, get started doing anything now. I'm kicking myself because I got into 3D printing so late. I've only been doing 3D printing stuff since July of 2020.
Wow.
I've been doing design work around the same time. And the reason why I got into design work is because I had an idea for a product, or for not even a product, I had an idea for a gun accessory, and no one made it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's learn how to make it. And I learned how to make it, and that's how I taught myself how to use Fusion 360. I have a patent pending on that accessory now.
Wow.
It's something I haven't released because this was way before. This was before. I say way before, but this was all like 18 months ago. Before I was releasing files, but a company reached out to me and they're like, "We want to sell that. We want to get you a patent. We want to machine these out of aluminum and slap the Booligan Custom Gunworks logo on them, and we want to create a product line around it and around like other stuff that you're doing."
Dude, that's badass.
Which never thought anything like that was going to happen, dude. Never, ever, ever thought that. And that was never the goal. The goal was like, I want this thing on my gun and no one makes it. So let's make it. You know what I mean? Like, let's get it done. And, you know, about a year later, but I'm kicking myself because I'm thinking of all those airsoft projects that I was doing years ago and all of that other stuff. I was doing stuff so hard because I was trying to, you know, manipulate materials instead of creating materials into the shape and stuff that I want.
Yeah. Dude, it's a game changer, man. I even just doing the little bit of printing that I have has totally opened up my world. And, you know, every single person I had 3D Arms, Print Shoot Repeat, obviously like Chairman Juan, Mr. Snow, P.A.D. Ralph, like all like the freaking goats, like, you know, you like. And they were like, dude, you don't even have a printer? Like, what? And, you know, just printing the like 5-6 things that I have, and then finally getting a functional, like, lower, Glock lower from it was just like, dude, why have I not? It took me so long to finally get into it. So I would give people the same advice, just encourage you just to get something, wait for that Micro Center $99 deal, and just jump in and grab it.
I'm pissed off we don't have Micro Centers in Utah. Like every time I see that, you know, chain go around Twitter, I get like really irritated that I'm like, damn it, I don't have these here.
Dude, hit me up. I'll send you anything Micro Center you want, man. $99 enders all day, man.
So, but what's funny is like, so when I did, you know, P.A.D. Ralph, when I did his live chat, and like, you know, Chairman is like, oh yeah, I started 3D designing stuff because of you. And I'm like, what? And Ralph is like, oh yeah, I bought my first 22 because of you. And I'm like, what? And then I talked to Vin, you know, Vin's like this freaking goat of designs. And he's like, oh yeah, like I started doing a lot of the design work I do because of you, because of this gun that you built. And I wanted to emulate that same gun in the legal stuff. And it's like, you never know. And I'm not saying I'm not the genesis of anything. I have the smallest ego in this, but you never know. Like I'm a subpar designer. I will say that first and foremost. And Chairman roasts the hell out of me all the time because I'll send him something to clean up the solids on and do some stippling on, and he's just like, yeah, why the hell did you leave that surface there? And I'm like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, he's got a completely different brain.
His workflow is completely different, and bless him, because like he does stuff that I cannot do.
And the attention to detail is nuts. And
he's working on a frame that, you know, we like the Halo Magnum here that is going to be publicly released. I don't know if I want to say this month because we have a couple days. I think this month. You heard it here first. This is the DLD exclusive that we are going to get the Halo Magnum out of beta. We've got round counts through it. I've got a couple people that have reported to me. We've worked out some issues. It is a safe, awesome shooter with that slide cover that looks like the Magnum. It's super cool. But I've got another one. I've got another similar one, but designed for Glock 17 or 34 or 17Ls. But really, you want to run it with a 34 slide and a 17L barrel for the peak effect. But he's doing a little bit of magic on that for me to make it more in-game, and that's not going to be from Halo, but Halo adjacent. But that one's going to be a cool one. We've got cool stuff in the works, man. Like
I'm interested in that.
I'm working through my backlog. I've got the little the Glock 26 grip with the 19 length frame with the printed standoff device on the front.
Yeah.
That guy's cool. That's a fun gun. I've taken it to the range and it shoots really well. We've got that in beta on my website currently. But I've got the vice versa version. So a 26 slide with a 19 grip. So this is a 26X, but it's got some cool textures and it's pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I love the 1926 and the 26X. Like that's cool as shit to me. Are you cool? Or like, are you good if I like take that snippet and post that, like, that you're going to be dropping it like within a month?
I like accountability, damn it. You can post it.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Well, dude, I know you got a family to run to. You got like 17 kids, and I'm just kidding. But I know
Feels like it
you,
sometimes.
yeah, dude, I know the feeling. I got one 5-year-old. So come out in PLA says the cyber question mark.
So if you're asking, come out PLA, if you're talking about the Cyber Chungus, I actually think we can release that one probably around the same time. But no, the one that I'm talking about that we're working on is from a different game. I've actually posted some of the CAD files. I've posted some of the screenshots from my design flow on my Instagram page. It's on there. People have seen it right now. But it's that one's going to be fun. I can't wait to print it. It's basically going to be like the Halo Magnum, but better.
Nice.
And more functional and less worry about the slide coming off or the slide cover popping off and smacking you in the face. Dude, you better believe those first shots were like
complete. Dude, the first thing I thought of was like, dude, that slide cover is going to install itself in my forehead.
Even Snowman, man, even Snow was like, you really need to do it this way. And I'm like, dude, it's not friction fit. His was friction fit and then like secured with like, I think on the threaded barrel to keep it from coming off in one way.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like it's secured with the pin at the rear, so it's got the extended rear plate.
Okay.
That kind of looks like a switch, but without the actual switch. That goes in the back, and it has a hole, and so it secures at the back with a pinhole, and then up front, it's sandwiched between the front sight, between a suppressor height front sight and the front of the slide. So it has like two like
solid,
really solid attachments points. And I put like a couple hundred rounds through mine, and it's like you can have print failures with anything. Like you could have a layer delamination that you don't see. You could have some other sort of, you could have an air bubble. You could have so many things that you can't see, and that's the risk. And that's like it's like my stupid, the not any other. The Glock 26 with the double magazine holders it's not a grip. It's not a grip because you can't grip it. It has and people are like, well, someone's going to shoot their hand off with that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, art's dangerous. Like this gun, I mean, everybody doing this is doing this stuff at their own risk. We make it so that the designs themselves are as structurally safe as possible. But stuff can happen. And that's why we take proper safety precautions. You run stuff through it. Make sure you're doing things as safely as possible. And we all get out of this. We all keep our fingers. That's why this thing is getting string tested.
Dude, I honestly I was gonna ask like when is that gonna be released? Because dude, the only time I would say in ETS magazine it should be used
because it looks good in that one.
It looks beautiful. Could you see that one being released?
Oh yeah. It needs some tweaks. Like I said, I don't think this is enough of a gun to even flag a sensor. This guy at the rear, I cut this out as a joke to round it. Mm-hmm. You really do need more support here just because that actually has some like a little bit of wobble in it.
Yeah.
So I do need to extend. I need to give it a little bit of a beaver tail. And then there's the question of like how much flex is allowable in here. Because if you could see like that's a little flexy boy there. Maybe some bridging pieces up here would probably be structurally helpful. But in all honesty, I think it'll work. Obviously, this one doesn't have a front rail, but like I think theoretically it will work. It just needs a couple of safety tweaks, and I will
hold it up real quick again. It's okay. It's wow. Dude, that's nuts.
Hold on, and then it looks like it's funny because it actually looks like an ice hammer.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. Oh man,
and it's the stupidest thing, but at the same time, I'm trying to be like, hey, hold on, let me actually like put some design work into stuff that doesn't suck. Well, but I was trying to make stuff that doesn't suck when that happened. So
how incredible would it be? Like, for any kind of reason potentially in the future, How dope would it be if you could camouflage things into stuff that didn't look like
As
stuff?
long, as long as it looks enough like a gun that you avoid an AOW classification.
Correct. Yeah, it
That's
has to have the shape
it
in
has to have
firing form.
general shape and firing form. And that's a line. I feel like I educate um, certain designer groups that are named after Magic the Gathering cards on federal firearm laws sometimes.
Yeah.
Just because like there was a certain gun that was released and they're like, yeah, no, you can rig it with a smooth bore. And I'm like, oh, that's a felony.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
I am all okay. This is my closing notes. You are going to get
yeah,
you'll get the quotables. This is the stuff that's going to burn me later. I believe in people doing whatever the hell they want. If you want to violate federal firearm laws, go for it. That's your choice to make. As an individual, you are permitted to do. Do you want to comply? Do you want to not comply? That doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want because you are making those decisions educated and at your own risk. Where we as designers can do a massive disservice is by saying that things are legal when they're not.
yeah,
That's a real big one. And without having kind of a, not even necessarily a base level understanding, but like read all the words on the website. Like I have a copy of the National Firearm Act, the ATF handbook for the National Firearm Act on my desk. I have a picture, or I have a full copy of the Gun Control Act 68 and all of its addendums, all of its definitions printed out sitting on my desk. I have a separate copy of Utah's gun laws sitting on my desk as a CLE class. I have all of that stuff there. Like it's there's a lot of laws, but like we can do a real disservice by making something that we are saying is legal and then someone builds it with that assumption of like, no, like I thought it was legal. Well, I thought it was legal is not going to keep you out of federal prison. Now, is anybody going to get federally prosecuted for making a 22 single shot Derringer with a smoothbore pistol? No, it's never going to come up. It's going to be a tacked on charge if you murder someone with it.
yeah,
But at the same time, we don't want to commit accidental felons. If you want to commit felonies, commit them openly. You own that shit. Commit your felonies. Do what you're going to do. I get razzed a lot in my comment section because I follow federal firearm laws. I get a tax stamp for my suppressor. I get a tax stamp for my short barrel shotgun. And that's because I'm published. I'm a published editor and writer under the Booligan name. My actual identity is 2 clicks away from my virtual identity. So I have to have strict compliance with the law. I have to have that because as a public face in the industry that clearly my shit's getting referenced by the US Army, apparently. And my stuff was referenced in an Everytown article, and my stuff was referenced in an ATF white sheet about 3D printing space. Like, I was being tagged by ATF agents in their internal memos that were released. Like,
it's something that people
say,
take
like,
too lightly.
Build it and just don't show it. Well, it's my job to show stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense for me to make a felony and hang it on the wall because it's going to live there and people are going to see it. But like, it just, like I said, it drives me crazy when like, and that's why I really like, you know, what Deterrence Dispensed does and what Ivan does and what Control Pew do, where they're like, yeah, this is like a drop-in full auto sear. If you print this, you are committing a felony. Understand that. You don't even have to install it. Mere possession of it. In fact, possession of the files. If it's sliced G code, may in their interpretation, I mean, look at your t-shirt. Your t-shirt you're wearing right now, were it to be made out of metal with deep enough engravings at a certain point, you got 3 machine guns on your shirt right there. Which, now I've got a 1911 on my shirt, so I don't know if there's the FUDs will be happy with mine.
I would like to say though, just throwing this out there, that this is a DLD exclusive, and this is different because this is the semi-auto key product.
Perfect.
Now it's not drawn to spec; it's a cartoon drawing. But yeah, no, you're totally right.
But you know what I mean? Like we're getting close enough to the point of thought crime being a thing
Yeah.
that like it really is, you know, the accidentally committing felonies can be so easy.
Yeah.
Intentionally committing felonies can really
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing, because those are choices that you're making for yourself. But what we don't want to do, and like I said, I release a lot of designs that a lot of people will be like, well, I wish you didn't put that piece there so I could grip it easier. And I'm like, okay, well, if I didn't have that piece there, that would probably be an AOW. And do you feel like, you know, doing 10 years and $250,000?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and it's definitely different too when like there's a level of responsibility, like you're saying, right? But also like when you put yourself out there, when you become a content creator, or, you know, that it's a whole different world of like you know, my entire home is completely sanitized now, and I'm not like I'm a tiny little channel, and like you know, it's you kind of put yourself there's a potential of a target being on you, and I appreciate what you're saying, because it's truth.
well,
But
look at some of the guys that are in the space right now that like, there are developers who I would love to donate to. And I don't do Bitcoin, I don't do any of that stuff. I'm an old. I don't get that shit. I got money in my PayPal account that I like to use to send to developers every now and then. And there's developers who are flat out like, I would love for you to donate to this project, but literally, if my actual name gets out there, I will have a federal lawsuit served upon me tomorrow by Everytown.
yeah,
Tomorrow it will be sued. And that's what goes into the whole gun makers match, and like needing to put your actual name on paper, and then Pincus being like, well, if you have nothing, we should all be operating under our real names, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, that's all well and good, but there are some people that if they were to operate under their real names, they would be sued federally, if not arrested. Glock Gen 3 frames are a piece of cake because the patent's done on them.
yeah,
We are designing frames for stuff that the patent is not done on. And
yeah.
if a gun
Fours and
company
fives.
decides that they want to, for even for non-commercial use, patent with non financial ramifications is still a patent, and they can still pursue you for it. Like, do we want, you know, some of these guys that are doing some of the best work out there in the space? Do we want them getting, you know, having to deal with the headache of being federally sued because the gun design they are making a frame for isn't old enough?
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
No, that's true. And the other piece too, and then, you know, I promise I'll let you go.
It's my
It,
fault. I keep carrying on.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I love it, and it's important too, because like everyone else needs to also understand that, and I'm not going to speak for you, but it's likely you'll probably agree, is that I and most of us believe that the NFA is completely unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
The GCA is completely unconstitutional. These are all acts of, you know, encroaching on your God-given rights, and it's wrong. And we also have to acknowledge the world in which we live in, and, you know, selfishly, silently, committing felonies privately in your basement is not going to
It doesn't
proliferate
help
the
anything.
signal. Yeah,
It doesn't help anything, but at the same time, openly committing that felony as somebody that can have that very quickly traced. It's almost like everybody has
yeah,
to decide that,
yeah,
hey, on this day, everybody is throwing a stock on that brace.
yeah,
Everybody, because they can't arrest all of us. No, but what they can do is they can do one or two really high profile seizure murders,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and everybody will back off.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
hate to say that,
look at CRS.
like look at CRS, and now like I have my whole opinions on that, which are my opinions and my opinions of my own. But like at the same time, like it's it's such an ugly space to have to try to navigate of like who wants to be the one.
Yeah.
Apparently BV Luminous is ready to be the one, but who wants to be the one who's gonna die for this, and they will kill you for this stuff. And
Yeah.
it sucks, and that's how far we've come. That's how far we've come, and that's
Yeah.
why, you know, God, groups like, you know,
Or how
Firearm
far
Policy Coalition.
backwards we've
Well,
come.
exactly, how far we've come in such a negative sense
Yeah,
with so
yeah.
many of those things. But like I said, you know, Firearm Policy Coalition, I give them a stipend. Like I throw money at those guys whenever I can because they're out
Yeah.
there and they're fighting so many of these laws and they're doing
GOA.
stuff over him. GOA as well. You know, that's in my opinion. I'm not going to tell anybody how to enact change. Whether their change is through open and public non-compliance, whether it's through sneaky non-compliance, whether it's through compliance while donating, everybody just needs to be doing something, and whether it's just reiterating the absurdity of some of these rules. I designed that stupid Glock 26, not any other, to show why the NFA and the GCA are idiotic. And that thing did numbers on YouTube. That thing has millions of views, the short that I did on that. And in the explanation, I'm like, hey, this whole thing is built because it's stupid. It's built because the law is stupid. The shapes in this that it is required to have to keep you out of handcuffs make this idiotic.
It was supposed to be the origin, this was supposed to be that conversation too, until, the original thing, not, but I know we got to tie it up. So that Booligan, man, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on
everything.
Here.
Oh, and by the way, the other huge YouTuber that started out as an airsoft YouTuber was Brandon Herrera, the AK guy.
Interesting.
He actually had 2 airsoft channels. One he started when he was like in the 6th grade.
Sounds about right.
But go ahead and before we wrap up, let everyone know who you are, where they can find you, and how they can support you. And if you want to throw out anyone else that you want to support, like a name drop or anything, feel free to.
Well, I'm Booligan. You can find my YouTube channel at Booligan Shooting Sports. You can find my subscription-based website. If you want to support the work, you don't have to. The work and the donations that we get through there and the subscriptions we get through there are amazing. We have an amazing group of followers on there, but that's booliganshootingsports.com. But really, if you want my files once they're done, and I release all of my completed files for free publicly on my Odyssey page, and the quick website for that is Booligan Custom Gunworks.
Nice.
But I love the support that we get from this group. I love the support that we get from everybody. It's such, aside from a few, little headaches, everybody here loves what we do, and they love the way that we do it. And I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff. Parts kits ain't cheap.
True that.
and supporting other, developers and stuff like that. Like I love the, kick donations that I get. I love kicking those back to the guys doing awesome work. I do some fun work, but I'm I'm but a humble weird 22 merchant. But we try to get cool stuff out, and do the best that we can.
I seriously, I appreciate you. I appreciate your content. I mean, I cannot tell you how many hours I have of just watching your shit, which you don't have a lot of super long videos, so that says a lot.
I actually have it depends on if you want to get really bored and watch the educational videos. I have like a 30-minute video on the history of the 357 SIG cartridge.
Yeah, dude, I kind of like that. I actually have a guy in the community that carries the equivalent of a Glock 24 in 357 SIG on a thigh rig in Denver daily.
Oh yeah,
fun stuff like that. But dude, I'll let you go. And guys, every time I end a stream, I say the same thing. So we'll wrap up with that. But first, I want to say, please take a moment to go to Booligan's channel to, of course, subscribe to him. Click the notification bell. Click all notifications. But also, if you could go to his Instagram page, follow him, and then go to his 10 most recent pictures and hit him with a like bomb. Like, boom, like hit 10 of his pictures.
We always love a like bomb.
Oh, yeah. And who knows? You may even get a little shout out. But I appreciate you guys so much coming on, spending time with us. Booligan, thank you so much for you coming on, spending time here. And for everyone in chat, I'll end as I always do, which is rule number 1 is be kind. Take the time to just be kind to people. You never know what people are going through. And it's the cheapest thing you can do with the highest net return. That's for sure. Also, live a life of care, compassion, contribution, give to others. When you bless others, you become blessed. That's just the way the world works. And also, we know that good men, or how to say, I kind of changed a little bit last time, that basically become as highly skilled in violence as you possibly can be, because that's the only way that we can combat evil and be safe, be dangerous, and keep that thing on you. That's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. I'm done. Booligan, again, thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Everybody have a good night.
You too. Peace, guys.